It's Wednesday, December 13th, 2006, and in a rural village of a northeastern state of India, a group of armed men had received an executive shoot-to-kill order for the most wanted Osama bin Laden. Just days earlier, bin Laden had brutally killed yet another innocent woman from the village and for months had been terrorizing the entire region. This was the time when authorities had finally decided to put an end to it. An intense search operation begins and runs for the next 5 days, until someone finally spots his hideout near a tea plantation. Officers, followed by a large crowd of villagers, surround the area, lighting fires, bursting firecrackers, and beating massive drums, sort of creating a wall of noise and chaos to flush bin Laden out of hiding. And eventually, the Terror King does come out. Standing at the mouth of the plantation is the leader of the armed men, pointing a .400 rifle straight ahead. But the moment bin Laden realizes what's happening, he explodes into rage and charges directly toward the officer. The officer opens fire. The shot lands in the final seconds, just yards away, moments before he himself would have become the next victim of the deadly terrorist. It's intense, right? There's a catch, however, in this whole story. This bin Laden weighed about 15,000 pounds and stood nearly 10 feet tall. Not just that. More often than not, hanging from his face are spear-like tusks stretching up to 8 feet long alone. Yeah, that deserves a pause. Capable of impaling its victims alive, literally, if they aren't already being crushed or gored to death. Meet the Earthshaker, the Asian elephant. During a deadly rampage that lasted nearly 2 years, from 2004 to 2006, the bin Laden elephant killed at least 27 villagers before finally being brought down in that dramatic encounter. But surprisingly, he wasn't the only elephant given that name. Another Osama bin Laden elephant killed around 11 people and severely injured dozens more in 2008 in an eastern Indian state bordering West Bengal, which is also the region that holds up one of the densest populations of wild elephants in the country. Yet another bin Laden elephant killed 5 people before eventually being captured and kept in captivity until it died in 2019. But all of these incidents combined pale in comparison to what happened at the beginning of 2026. The following footage captures a rogue elephant bull-charging towards hundreds of villagers and forest officials who had only moments earlier been trying to drive the animal away. Instead, it had turned and fired back on them. As the massive animal closes in on the fleeing crowd, it suddenly catches one man and tramples him brutally, slamming him into the ground. Later reports confirmed the victim was the leading forest officer, who had arrived from Bengal specifically to deal with the rogue elephant. But even more disturbing than this footage is the context and details behind this encounter. And trust me, it is not for the faint-hearted. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's give these pounding beasts the introduction they deserve. Elephas maximus, also known as the Asian or Asiatic elephant, is the largest living land animal in Asia and the second largest living elephantid in the world. Spread across the entire South and Southeast Asia, from India in the west to Borneo in the east, and from the Himalayan foothills of Nepal in the north down to the islands of Sumatra in the south. These giants occupy landscapes ranging from lowland plains at sea level to mountainous regions rising over 10,000 feet. A life on plains and mountains at such heights is even more remarkable when their enormous proportions are taken into account. Adult males, also called bulls, can reach heights of 9 to 12 feet and weigh anywhere from 8,818 pounds to a maximum of 15,432 pounds, with females, or cows, being roughly 15% smaller across their range. With this classic tank-like elephant build and appearance, the most standout part of the outlook is their huge trunk. Also called a proboscis, this massive appendage ends in a finger-like tip, letting them grab and roll objects as tiny as a grain of rice, almost like it's a fully functional hand. Made up of around 50,000 muscles, the trunk alone can weigh up to 400 pounds and hold as much as 2 gallons of water at a time. And of course, with a nose like that, their sense of smell is nothing short of insane. Packed with around 2,000 olfactory receptors, more than twice as many as dogs and 5 times more than humans. These big, burly nose canals give elephants the strongest sense of smell in the animal kingdom. Not only can an elephant smell a water source up to 12 miles away, they can also distinguish between very similar subtle odors, such as identifying the specific food they prefer over a similar plant, or even larger and smaller quantities of food in the presence of another strong odor trying to mask it up. This extraordinary sense of smell is also a key way elephants talk to each other, picking up chemical signals left behind in feces and urine. Communication, in fact, is one of the most complex and highly developed skills in the elephant world. Apart from depositing and detecting these chemicals, an Asian elephant communicates in a bunch of other ways, too. From visual cues like flapping its giant ears or striking specific poses to produce all kinds of noises, and calls like the classic trumpet growls or clicks, depending on the mood, to even sending out infrared low-frequency signals that are inaudible to humans. But perhaps the most astonishing form of elephant communication happens in a way you would never expect. They can quite literally hear through their feet. To communicate across enormous distances, elephants stomp their massive fat padded feet onto the ground, sending powerful seismic vibrations through the earth, almost like tiny earthquakes. These waves can travel as far as 20 miles before another elephant picks them up using its feet again. To make that happen, an elephant leans forward and shifts more weight onto its front feet, pressing them firmly into the ground, almost like someone placing their ear against a wall to hear better. Once the vibrations enter the feet, they travel up through the bones of the legs, pass through the shoulders and skull, and eventually reach the inner ear through bone conduction. Apart from staying in touch with each other through these rather unconventional ways, an Asian elephant spends nearly 19 hours a day just eating. These giants are mega herbivores and can consume up to 330 pounds of plant matter every day, feeding on at least 112 different plant species. While doing so, its trunk does most of the handiwork of grabbing, pulling, and guiding food into the mouth. But at times, it also brings its giant feet into the job to crush and break down tougher plants before eating them. These huge creatures are also big fans of water. They love diving, swimming, and spraying each other with their trunks, often playing around for long stretches. Water actually helps them a lot, because under the immense body weight, their joints take a heavy load on land, and the buoyancy of water gives them some much-needed relief. In just these activities, an Asian elephant can use up to 80 gallons of water, while still drinking an additional 21 to 52 gallons every day to stay hydrated. Their excessively wrinkled, loose skin also traps water and mud, letting the elephant stay cool and hydrated under the blazing sun long after it's finished bathing. And despite looking like thick armor, their skin is surprisingly sensitive and can actually detect something as small as a fly landing on it. However, out in the unforgiving wild, the most important job of an Asian elephant's skin is protection. It shields the animal's vital organs from bites and attacks. Of course, with a body that massive, elephants are already pretty much untouchable for most predators. Still, if an unexpected clash does happen, this tough, leathery hide is strong enough to withstand impacts of up to small-caliber bullets, as well as the claws and teeth of almost every large predator. But again, pretty much any encounter between a full-grown Asian elephant and a top-chain predator like tigers or leopards ends up looking like this. The big cat storms out of the tall grass, growling at the towering elephant, trying to look intimidating. But all it takes is a deep rumble from the elephant and a couple of heavy steps forward, and suddenly, these so-called apex predators decide they got somewhere else to be. Meanwhile, this grown-ass feline literally got chased off by a trumpeting baby elephant. Like, come on, man, it's not even an adult. You're a friggin' tiger. All jokes aside, though, that's not always how it plays out. On very rare occasions, tigers have been known to attack and kill elephant calves, especially when they're isolated. In 2011 and 2014, there were even recorded incidents of tigers killing adult elephants, one of them reportedly being overwhelmed by a group of several tigers working together. Similarly, crocodiles can also pose a serious threat to elephant calves, particularly when these massive animals are bathing and splashing around in rivers without a worry in the world. This giant mother spotted danger approaching her newborn and immediately charged at it, stomping, kicking, and warning the nasty reptile until it chickened out of the pond. This ultimate intimidation gets downright insane once you bring their tusks into the picture. Most males of the species grow their incisor teeth throughout their lives, which eventually start jutting out of their mouths. These tusks can reach up to 8 feet in length and weigh up to 100 pounds each, sometimes as much as 150 pounds. And these aren't just heavy teeth, they're weapons, made of solid ivory, coated in enamel and enriched with collagen. They're sharp, durable, and flexible enough to absorb and produce incredible force without breaking. Using these live spears, Asian elephants can uproot trees like mere sticks and flip rocks weighing over 700 pounds with ease. It goes without saying that no predator on Earth stands a chance against an impact with these deadly things. In July of 2021, a 10-year-old tigress was found dead along an elephant trail in India, reportedly gored and crushed so badly that her spine had been burst open in a confrontation with a herd. Similarly, in 2017, a leopard in West Bengal tried to hunt a baby elephant from a nearby group, but when its attack failed, the angry herd charged back. In a desperate bid to save herself, the panicked feline scrambled up a massive tree. But the furious elders were not done. One tusked elephant uprooted the entire tree, then wrapped the leopard in its trunk and tossed it to the ground with such force that it killed the poor predator on the spot. Interestingly enough, these kinds of retaliatory attacks are not unusual in Asian elephants. An elephant's brain weighs around 11 pounds, making it the heaviest brain of any land animal. It's roughly 4 times heavier than a human brain and contains around 257 billion neurons, nearly 3 times the number found in humans. Because of that, they are considered among the most intelligent and self-aware animals on the planet, from demonstrating sadness and grief, like burying their dead and repeatedly visiting their remains, to showing remarkable learning abilities, such as painting, playing musical instruments, using tools, mimicking human sounds, and even understanding parts of human language. These giants possess one of the most astonishing minds in the animal kingdom. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping side of this cognition appears in 2 very powerful emotions: compassion and its opposite, revenge. Like whales, Asian elephants regularly help one another in their daily lives, assisting with parenting, protecting calves, and guarding the herd. But beyond that, these giants have also shown surprising kindness toward other animals. One remarkable example came from India, where an elephant was helping villagers lift heavy logs and place them into pre-dug holes under the instructions of its trainer. But when it reached one particular hole, the massive tusker suddenly refused to drop the log. No matter how much the trainer urged it, the elephant would not follow the command. When the trainer finally went to check the problem, he discovered the reason. A dog was sleeping inside that hole. However, because of their well-developed hippocampus, that same powerful mind can also hold on to traumatic experiences for years. In an eastern Indian village, a 70-year-old woman reportedly had some conflict with an elephant that eventually killed her. But the story didn't end there. As her funeral was being held, the furious elephant suddenly appeared at the gathering and trampled her corpse too, apparently still not done with the anger it held toward the woman. Taking this vengeance a step further, some elephants even turn rogue against humans in general, after experiencing mistreatment in the past. This is exactly what happened with the rogue bull in this video. After being separated from its herd, right in the middle of a mating season, this single-tusked elephant went on a deadly rampage. Over just a week, it killed at least 22 people, moving from village to village, deliberately picking and killing its victims. One of them was reportedly a baby, who witnesses say got impaled alive on its tusk when the bull raided a house. The villagers, following a forest officer in the video, were trying to drive the animal away, apparently toward a safer location to bring it down. But instead, the bull charged back, injuring the officer badly, and even now, it remains at large. Some rogue elephants, like these in the late 90s and early 2000s, were known to plunder cottages where beer was being fermented, gulping down several gallons at once. These drunk elephants would then storm villages and towns nearby, trampling and goring people to death. Every year across Asia, around 400 to 600 people die in such encounters, while crops worth up to $3 million are destroyed. Villagers often kill elephants in retaliation, which triggers even more attacks by vengeful animals, creating a vicious cycle that raises the death toll on both sides, but of course affects the numbers of elephants way more. Add that to the other threats to their survival, habitat loss, illegal poaching for meat, leather, and ivory, and it's no wonder the Asian elephant is listed as endangered by the IUCN Red List, with just 26,000 to 30,000 individuals alive today. To make matters worse, their reproduction rate is one of the slowest in the entire animal kingdom. While an average elephant can live around 60, sometimes even 80 years, a female only gives birth to a new calf every 4 to 5 years. After reaching sexual maturity at around 10 to 12 years, a male Asian elephant enters a state known as must, roughly once every year. During this period, his testosterone production shoots up to nearly 100 times the normal level, and he becomes extremely aggressive. These raging, furious bulls fight each other, clashing tusks and throwing their massive weight around, while also sending and receiving chemical signals to communicate with females about whether they're ready to mate. Once that happens, one of the longest pregnancies of any mammal sets in, lasting around 18 to 22 months. After which, a calf is born, weighing around 220 pounds. However, until this baby reaches the end of the weaning period, at about 3 to 5 years, a female elephant does not breed again. Dedicated mother, right? But, she's still got urges. So these females have often been seen rubbing themselves off with their trunks, and sometimes each other, especially in captive settlements. Yeah, of all the fascinating facts about the majestic elephant, that's the one we end on. Fantastic. See you in the next one.